Question here, same link, same deal. How are state and federal resources helping your community to address your housing needs? What's working? How are funding being addressing the real needs locally for you? I know we've heard things around ARPA funding and these sort of the LIHTC, which Rachel mentioned earlier, but really want to get a sense of how both funding and resources are helping you on the state and federal level to address your housing needs. So ADUs, but construction costs are way too high. Thinking about ADUs and ARPA has been great, and I see that sort of being uplifted a few times here. One Stop for Growth is helpful for infrastructure, LIHTC, and SciTech for development and rental relief funding. This is all great to hear that those things are being useful locally for you all. 90 new public housing units are being planned. Oh, I wonder. I'd love to know. We'll have the details to know where that's happening locally as well. Communities and nonprofits feeling like state and federal resources are not enough, they're too slow. Um, Septic is also an issue, septic issues. So, yeah, how are state and federal resources helping your community to address your housing needs? A mass housing hub has been helping many gateway communities on planning efforts and supporting local work. Love to see that. WIC lottery for low income, flexible, robust funding, CBG funding as well. For housing rehab has been a huge help. That's great. One Stop for Growth is helpful. Awesome. Love to know that these things are being useful locally. Complete communities, MBTA complete communities. Love to see that uplifted. And certainly the partnering resources for 3ATA. I love that that is being useful and helpful for you all in your work as well. Fantastic, fantastic. And feel free to put any, innovative ideas that if it's not just your community, where you see it working in other communities, right? Other examples of communities and what things you've seen work well that you hope to adopt. Certainly would love to hear examples of that as well. But of course, we see community investment tax credit being useful. We've seen that a few times here and it being upvoted. And then the One Stop for Growth being helpful for infrastructure, right? So we're some of folks have mentioned in the gaps this idea of sewer, right? And those sort of things being barriers. Love to know that some of those resources are being targeted in some ways and have with extremely helpful for homeowners to avoid foreclosure. I love that I see that uplifted there as well. So I'm glad that those things are addressing those issues and avoiding foreclosure. Love to see that as well. So the state's affordable housing trust helping to preserve existing units. The LIHTC work and technical support from HLC and LIP department really helps. Love that. Love that, all of those resources are available. And MRVP vouchers, work that the policy team has worked on diligently. I'm glad to know that that is working as well. And I recognize that some folks are unable to edit their name, and we can help with some of that as well. Noticing that in the chat. And Carmine, I mentioned families with disabled children are not being accepted into shelters when application financial requirements are not met. We need to look into that. You should contact us so we know this is helpful, so we know what's happening on the ground. Community members have no idea there is assistance. They don't know how to go and where to get help. And so, yes, making sure that people have the right resources and know where to access information is important. And so, how are state and federal resources helping? I just saw a new one coming in around low energy programs from Massachusetts, housing vouchers and DP assistance, a variety of sources. But it's a slow slog, right? And oftentimes it is. And so again, sometimes these things are incremental, but it is helpful to know what is working in terms of and in parallel with where the gaps are as well. So let's see. I am going to pause for a moment, thanking you all for your patience as we sort of work logistically um, through our trying to get you all into breakout groups. Um, and I'm so glad that we're able to capture so much of the details, right? What you guys have shared here around the lack of vouchers for homelessness and MRVP and flexible, robust funding for targeted and supported housing markets to make a big impact. These sort of things are going to be really, really helpful. All of this detail, right? We have directly hearing from you all is fantastic. I'm hoping that if what we can do, even if we can send half of the folks to the breakout room and kind of continue to work through the list here, let's see if we can try to do that. So if Monica, you can stop sharing for just a moment and